What's going on, guys? Getting in the green. We got week 5 NFL for you. I'm going to break it down position by position as usual, kind of give you guys some top dogs to play and fade, and then some sleepers here at each position. So let's kick it off with quarterbacks. What do you got, Matt, up at the top?
Yeah, let's go top tier. It's kind of weird, a little weird this week because a lot of the prime time games has the big name quarterbacks in it. So kind of at the very top here, it's just really two. It's Tom Brady, Kyler Murray, 7,400, 8,000. It's not a crazy expensive for the top guys. Tom obviously coming off a rough game in the rain against the Patriots. I'd like him to have a bounce back at Miami, but if we're going to be honest, if you're going to spend that money top dollar, I think Kyler's the better play. He just has more ways to score, especially with the rushing. And I think that game is a little bit more competitive, that Arizona-San Francisco game. Still think Arizona's going to be in a good spot to win and score a lot, but they're going to be pushed in that fourth quarter. They're still going to be scoring. I think that Tampa Bay game is going to be long gone by the fourth quarter. Kyler Murray's a better play at the top for me.
Yeah, I'm not in love with Tom here this week. I mean, Miami just historically, it might have just been they had Belichick's number, but historically gives Tom trouble.
Yeah.
Tampa should cruise in this one too. I don't see much out of that Miami offense against Tampa's D. So,
No.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
Kyler's a beast, man. I mean, the guy just puts up yards. Yeah,
Especially that, like for a long time there, we were getting, and we'll get into the mid-range guys in a second here, but we were getting the Tom Brady's, the Dax at like 65, 64, 6,300 a few weeks ago, and it made a lot of sense to not pay up for the 8,000 or 8,500. This week, those guys are at 7,000, 7,100. It's if you can get that, save that $1,000 in your lineup to get him, not a bad play this week at all.
yeah, I agree. Sliding down a little though here, so we'll go 61 to 71. I think Rodgers is a good spot here against Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Hurts, everybody's on Hurts, and I don't love him this week. I can see the potential, but Carolina does have a good defense. They're at home again.
I'm definitely not playing Hurts over Rodgers or Prescott here, sitting right there next to him, over and under. Don't dislike Hurts. I don't think he's going to have a bad game. I think Rodgers could really have a great game. I think Cincy will be able to score on them, which will push Rodgers to keep going. And then Dallas looks red hot right now. I mean, there's always a risk of the running back getting some of those touchdowns, but I mean, Dak looks real good. And at 6,900, he looks like a great play.
Yeah, I'm going to be smashing Dak Prescott. I mean, Dallas at home is just a machine at this point, and until something changes there, like I'm not going to hop off the wave of that offense.
Yeah.
I will say I'm going to probably be fading Herbert. I don't love that game. Darnold's an interesting spot here against that Philly secondary, but I feel like we kind of talked about how this guy's priced accordingly this week. But if he was down around 61, 62, I mean, he'd be a smash play for me.
That's where I'm at. I mean, I'm definitely fading Herbert, even as a Chargers fan. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I think Darnold's going to have a good game. It's just, at 6,600, it's just there's still risk involved from a talent level. I don't think he's a bad talent, but when I can go get Dak, Rodgers, or even Cousins right below, I think I would play those guys over Darnold, even though if you want to talk about an interesting – I'm sure he's going to have a low playing percentage because he's priced correctly this week. So you could get an advantage there if he has a game like he's been having the last couple games. But for me, I think I'd go with one of the safer guys.
Yeah, I mean, you could get a nice stack, too, with like a DJ Moore, run it back with Devontae Smith or something like that. But, yeah, Darnold's in play for me. I'll probably put a full game stack there together with him, but that's about it. And then I know Cousins has kind of got that dream matchup here against Detroit.
Yeah.
Personally, I'm scared of the running backs kind of just eating against that defense, but I know you like Cousins this week.
I do like Cousins. I think it's a good game. Obviously, he had the weird game last week against Cleveland, which he didn't score. But other than that, I mean, Cousins has been pretty legit, pretty consistent. He's got great receivers. Obviously, some of the best receivers in the game with Jefferson and Thielen. I don't hate a Cousins-Jefferson stack this week. Again, only hesitation I have is I just think he's priced correctly. 6,500 is right where I put him. But if that's where your lineup kind of falls in, it makes sense. I think he's a great play. Last guy I'll mention in here, probably again not playing him over the next couple that we're about to mention. Burrow is interesting to me. It just depends how you think that game's going to go. If you think Green Bay is going to just beat him up, then maybe it's not a great play. If you think this has the potential to be a shootout, Burrow's an interesting play that I don't think will have that high of a play percentage, and I'm probably going to put in at least one Burrow lineup.
Yeah, I like Burrow, and he's got Higgins back. No Mixon most likely, so I mean, their only
Yeah,
path is going to be to throw. They should be down. Should be good game script. Yeah, it's a sneaky play at
you know,
6,100.
I can't decide what I think about Green Bay's defense. Like, I'm not. They're definitely not a top-notch team. I can't tell if they're even kind of good or just bad and have had good game flow. So I don't know. We'll learn a lot about whether this will be a shootout or if Green Bay's just a much better team.
Yeah, I agree. All right, now we got kind of down into the discount quarterbacks here. There's two that really caught our eye. The first one is I like Daniel Jones at 6,000 against Dallas. For as much as we play the Dallas defense, because they cause turnovers, they do get beat. They do give up deep plays. I know no Shepard, no Slayton again this week, but he looked just fine without those weapons last week. And I think he's going to be playing from behind. And, divisional game should be more competitive than most people think in general. So I definitely could see Daniel Jones kind of having one of those 28 to 30-point outings here against this Dallas defense.
Yeah, I mean, we're just getting to the point where Daniel Jones is just a good quarterback. Like, crazy to say it out loud, but guy just looks good. There's definitely a little bit concerned. I think if he had all of his weapons, I would be playing him almost every week. Still, like he showed last week, without his weapons, he can still score. He's still got a super interesting floor because of his rushing abilities. Adds an extra 4 or 5 points a game, and he's always live to run one in. So, yeah, I really do like Daniel Jones. I think Dallas is going to put up a lot of points against them, so even in some garbage time, he should score, have some opportunities. He's going to be throwing. I don't think Barkley's going to take too much from him this week. So, yeah, I like Daniel Jones a lot at his position there.
All right, and then the next one would be Trey Lance.
A little bit more of a wild card here. A little bit more of a boom or bust type. Obviously, we got 20 points out of Trey Lance and a half last week.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look a little more into that, there's basically a broken play, 75-yard touchdown to Deebo Samuel, and a kind of garbage time touchdown. Who knows what we're going to get? We obviously got 40 rushing yards and a half, too. That's super interesting. So, very interesting play. Arizona has a little bit of an underrated defense, so this one could go either way. Absolutely playing Trey Lance. I think he's super interesting here. The guy could be one of the top scoring quarterbacks, or he could have a rough day at the office. So be a little bit careful with this, but absolutely huge upside value in tournament for Trey Lance this week.
Yeah, and I think he has a good floor, though. Even if they get just smashed in this game, that guy's legs alone, he's going to be forced out of the pocket by the Arizona D-line. That guy's probably going to run for 70, 80 yards. That's 7 or 8. You get another 6 or 7 from his passing, like his floor is at 15 for you. And at 5,700, it's not great, but with the upside he brings as well, like I do think he is a pretty good play. And the lineups that I was able to get with Lance in, I was making some significant jumps at those other skill positions because of it. So, yeah, Lance is in play for me. I do like him. And I think the Arizona defense lets up in the second half when they kind of get that big lead that I'm expecting. And he should eat in garbage time here.
I will say I think the secret is out a little bit on Trey Lance. Every analyst's writing about him. Like,
he'll be highly owned here.
I think he'll be highly owned. There's definitely people around on this. The other guy I do want to mention right at this area, Trevor Lawrence has an interesting matchup. Obviously, he's looked pretty damn good in his game. The little hesitation I have is just Jacksonville in general. Obviously, all the BS going on with Urban Meyer. The team doesn't want to play for him. There's some weird other things going on, but Tennessee's defense and secondary looks terrible. Even if Tennessee get a lead and is beating them up, Lawrence is going to throw here. I don't hate this play at 5,800, and Lawrence looks like he's getting better and better every week.
Yeah, I mean Lawrence looks great. I'm definitely. I mean, we'll get into it later, talking on some of his receivers and tight end options for this week because of that Tennessee secondary. I do worry slightly about getting too much in that game because I can see Tennessee just absolutely controlling the clock on Jacksonville here, pounding
Yeah,
Henry, who's my play of the week at running back. I do think I see
that's
the
go to
upside
next.
though with Lawrence here. The guy looks like he's got all the pieces to be a elite NFL quarterback at some point. This is a good
Yep.
defense to put it together against. Um, Personally, though, I just Daniel Jones, Trey Lance are just a little better for me down there. So I mean, I'll put a
Yeah.
Lawrence stack together, but for the most part, I'm going to be focusing on Lance and Jones down there at the bottom.
All right, let's go into the running backs.
All right.
And like it's been the last 2 or 3 weeks for us, is Derrick Henry's a must play again. It's
Yeah,
great
nine
matchup
thousand. He's the
against
most
Jacksonville.
expensive player by far on this slate, but I mean, you
Worth it.
just go back to his game logs from last year and look what he did to Jacksonville in Jacksonville last year, and it's. I mean, this is a no-brainer. The guy ran for like 200 yards, 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, he's also
Tennessee
getting,
got AJ Brown back, which I think helps Henry here. You know,
yeah.
you can't just stack the box against him with AJ Brown on the outside. This guy's just an animal, man, and until he breaks down, there's no
He's getting
reason to
too
kind
many.
of get off the ship here.
He's getting 30 to 40 touches a game in runs and passes, and it's it's just a ridiculous usage. Also, even in these games that he's had good games the last 2 weeks, he's had some unlucky shit happen to him. Tennessee's had some weird red zone errors, bad snaps, things like that, where it's like these games, Derrick Henry could have had 2 or 3 touchdowns in and scored that 40 or 50 point game. Instead, he's scoring us 27 to 30, which I'm going to take all day at his position. But it's not like, oh yeah, we're getting a bad game and a good game out of him. His floor is every week's going up and up and up to where, if he has a bad game, he's going to get us 25, and if he gets those 3 touchdowns like he's capable of every week, he's going to get us 40. So love his spot. And again, I think this might be one of those weeks where Henry just gets 3 touchdowns and 150 yards rushing. So absolute must play. And I just don't see, not like old Derrick Henry. They're so reliant on him that I feel like he just isn't even going to screw you on his floor. Gets a couple catches a game. He's getting so many touches that it's like his floor is still like an 18 or 19 point game, which isn't terrible.
Yeah. And up at the top, there's just so many question marks that he's the one kind of solidified play up there. So, you got McCaffrey not playing. Kamara didn't even get a target last week. You're not looking at that guy at all. Dalvin Cook's injury, I mean, he's got the prime matchup of the week, but, God, you just can't trust him. He's going to play. Coach says it's game time. Even if he plays, I could see that guy tweaking something at some point, coming out. They've got Madison, who's an absolute animal behind him anyways. They're not going to push this guy. Look, I'm not playing him, and I could definitely pay for that because he could go off here if he's healthy, but too many question marks to kind of put him in lineups.
So even if he plays and is healthy, it's going to be like last week. Madison's going to have a role. And it's just smart. Until he's 100%, they shouldn't give him 25 touches a game. So, yeah, I don't see the upside there. Let's go into the next tier, which is still kind of the upper tier, just not the top. Let's go 7,000 to 7,900 with Zeke coming in at 7,000. The top here, it's kind of interesting. I do like Aaron Jones and Eckler this week in different ways. Aaron Jones I like because I'm leaning towards Green Bay Cincy being a shootout. I just think there will be touchdowns scored. I think he's going to catch passes. He could have a big game. I just think he's priced correctly. Again, one of those value plays where 7,900 is about right, but I do like the game script. Eckler, on the other hand, has a back, probably a low-scoring game. I just love his consistency. I love his usage. I think that the Browns are getting pressure on Herbert and that the downfield passes aren't going to be as open. So I just think this is one of those games where Eckler's going to catch 7, 8, 9 passes. So he's very safe for me. His boom potential is probably a little bit lower because I don't think there's going to be that many touchdowns scored. So I don't know if he's going to have as many red zone opportunities. And at 7,600, you are paying a lot for him. But an interesting play, especially in a cash game instead of a tournament, I do have some Eckler. I think he's going to get a lot of catches in this game.
Yeah, I like both those guys. I haven't really been able to get up to them because right below them we got Barkley and Elliott. I love Elliott. This last minute injury news is a little scare, but I think they're playing core. I think he's going to be healthy, and he's just an absolute workhorse at this point for Dallas on that offense. Barkley on the other side of it, it's going to be the passing game. It's just going to be a good game script there. 1 o'clock slate, so I like both of them. Eckler scares me, even with his consistency. I just have that being like one of the lower scoring games of the weekend. Tough game. And yeah, I mean, there's just some other spots there that I was able to get to easier. But yeah, I mean, everybody up here at the top is just has their pros.
Let me say, even with me talking about Eckler Jones have great plays, I do see Barkley as a good play. Zeke's absolutely the play of the week at this tier for me. He's $900 cheaper than Aaron Jones, 7,000, has the same floor, same ceiling. So yeah, I do like Zeke in the game there. Probably the best. I'm playing the most Zeke at 7,000. Did want to give those guys a shout out. I'm playing some of them, but I'm playing in this tier. I'm playing the most Zeke for sure, as long as that injury is nothing too serious.
And then this next tier, we'll go 5,900 and up, and I just don't see much here that I'm in love with. Najee Harris is a volume play, but again, another game where I just have it being one of the lower scoring games of the week. They're playing a good Denver defense. Chubb, I don't trust until Hunt gets hurt or something. Gibson,
I think the Chargers defense is a little.
Yeah, Swift is one of the interesting ones in there, but I never actually got to him in the lineups. I think they're going to be down. Game script will be back, and he has a bounce back spot here. But he's just kind of in that middle range where we've got some cheap running backs we like, and then the big dogs, and I just haven't kind of fit into that mid range at all.
Yeah, that's where I'm at with Hubbard as well. I mean, obviously, let's wait for the final word on CMC, but we're 99% sure he's going to be out. I do think Hubbard's in a good spot. I think Philly's got a bad run D. He is catching passes out of the backfield. I think he's going to be used. 6,000 is just a little too expensive for a backup running back that's talented, but not Christian McCaffrey talented. So I might play a little Hubbard. I really do like the matchup. I like the spot. I wish he was at 5,500, 5,400. At 6,000, there are guys underneath him that I like just as much as him.
Yeah, I mean, even at the same price, I mean, gun to my head, I'm going James Robinson against that Tennessee defense before I go Hubbard. So, yeah, I mean, look, if you're doing game stacks, throw him in there. But this range was just really tough to get into with kind of everything else that's going on this weekend. One in here that we weren't looking at playing, but now his injury is very interesting, is going to be Edmonds. And if that guy doesn't play, he'll open up Connor down there a little lower for us.
5,600.
Yeah.
If Connor's at 5,600. It becomes very interesting if Edmonds is out. Obviously, Connor's already had a couple big games here, specifically very touchdown dependent. But, he's shown in Pittsburgh, even if he's a little bit slower, a little bit less of his prime there, he can catch balls out of the backfield. Arizona is absolutely going to be an offense that does that and moves the ball. If Connor's the only guy in the backfield, it'll be interesting to see how he's used. And I even want to say, not enough confidence to play him. I'm even very interested to see how Rondell Moore at receiver gets involved in those little screen passes if Edmonds out, that if he takes on some of that role as well. Interesting to see. Connor will definitely be a must-play if Edmonds is out at 5,600.
Yeah, I agree. Down at that same
other guy right here, 5,600.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go for it.
We got Damian Williams
is the other guy we're looking at. Yeah.
He's got Montgomery's out for a while now. This guy can catch the ball, run the ball. He's a good running back. He kind of got in a bad situation in Kansas City where they don't really focus on that kind of style of football. But the Raiders just got torched by Eckler. As good as a pass rushing defense as the Raiders have, they don't stop the run very well. What scares me is Chicago's offense not being good enough. But I think pure volume at 5,600, if you're paying for touches, I mean, this is the spot of the week.
Yeah, plus, Justin Fields is starting. We saw from the game script last week, they really ran the shit out of Dave Montgomery, wanted to take some pressure off of Fields' shoulders. I think they'll do the same thing here with Williams. She's going to get a lot of running. And then the other thing is, rookie quarterbacks that have trouble throwing downfield, they draw off to the running back. He's going to be in a good spot here. I do like him in this position quite a bit.
Yeah, so and then let's touch before we get down to kind of, you got Pollard and Madison, who are really only in play with the injuries if they come through. So won't be touching them unless Zeke or Dalvin Cook kind of get ruled out. And then, I mean, I'll let you touch at 5,200. I mean, this guy is just undervalued, man.
Yeah. Let's talk about Leonard Fournette here, 5,200. Obviously coming off his best game of the season there, was actually given the ball, able to run, tore New England a new one. I think got like a little bit under 100 yards rushing, involved in the passing game. Ronald Jones isn't a factor, even though he took one of his touchdowns. But Ronald Jones is clearly not competing for that lead back. Only slight concern I have is if it looks like Gio is going to play, which obviously takes some of those catches. Reason why I'm not that concerned about it this week is because of the game script with Miami. They're going to be up. The game that Gio had his really good games when they were down, trying to come back. So Fournette should be the main guy in a game where they're dominating, run the ball. I could absolutely see him getting in the end zone and having a great game here.
Yeah, I agree. Fournette's a smash spot here. I mean, 130 scrimmage yards last week against a decent New England defense. I don't see anything slowing him down. And at 5,200, man, I mean, he's looking real good here. So, and, besides that, below him, nothing caught my eye under that mark at 5,200. So I don't know if you had any real sleepers at running back, but that's kind of the best value play that I was able to come up with.
No. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I agree. I mean, Sermon could have been interesting if Mitchell didn't go, but Mitchell is going, so he's kind of out of it. And yeah, when I'm looking down here, not a whole bunch that catches my eye. I think that's the lowest I would go this week.
All right, so let's move into receivers, and we're kind of in the same situation here. There's just so many good receivers this week. Mm-hmm. Let's get started at the top. You got Devontae Adams, Justin Jefferson, Hopkins, Moore, McLaren. That's kind of that top tier. They're all within about $800 of each other. And of those, I've got 7,400 to 8,200, and I've got 3 plays and 2 fades up there. And I think we're on the same page here. Is that Adams? Great spot here against Cincinnati, man. He should dominate as per usual. Justin Jefferson at home against Detroit, smash spot, especially with the Cook injury. I just think they might throw it a little more than they would have normally. We got a fade on Hopkins and a fade on McLaurin. And then the interesting one there is DJ Moore is priced appropriately this week as a top receiver. But, man, he is just – without McCaffrey, that guy is a target machine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think – see that slowing down here. Philly's D is really struggling. Moore has a super, super safe floor because he's going to be a guy that gets 7 or 8 catches. And if he can get in the end zone like he did last week, you're looking at a monster game. Also, to touch on, obviously Jefferson, Adams are pretty obvious why they're valuable and what they've already done this season. Hopkins, we're not saying we dislike Hopkins. It's just at the top. He clearly is still banged up. And there's a lot of mouth to feed, and they're spreading the ball really well there. So I wouldn't be shocked at all if Hopkins has a great game. It's just like with the logic that we have here, there's better options at that price point.
Yeah.
I think that's sort of that kind of right underneath tier. Kind of a weird one. You see Mike Williams priced so high at 7,200, considering he came off a weird game and probably is still not the number one there, but definitely fading Mike Williams. We already talked about how low scoring we think that game's going to be. And even if I did play someone, I'm playing Keenan Allen at 6,500 over Williams at 72. So that's a fade for me. In this tier, the one that really sticks out that you and me have been on the same page about, it's going to be Deebo Samuel at 7,100. And that news just got better. We were already on Samuel. Clearly Lance was targeting as much as possible as his favorite receiver. Just got news that Kittle's doubtful to play this week. So you really, really like Samuel to really get force-fed some targets here. he's in a good spot. If you think Trey Lance can move this offense at all and he can actually score some points here, Samuel's very live for touchdowns, and either way, he's got a safe floor with targets and yards alone.
Yeah, and I mean, unless that offense just doesn't move the ball at all, man, he's Trey Lance's kind of receiver, man. He's big, he's your outlet, he can go deep. Trey Lance is going to extend the play. I see Debo, and I mostly have him in my Lance stacks, but Debo's got a really good spot here to go off and continue kind of that role that he's been on. And there's not much else in that little range until you get down. So Mike Evans, I don't love at 6,800. Too many weapons there, and he's priced accordingly. Julio's out. Thielen, hard to play with Justin Jefferson healthy. You just don't know what's going to happen. I think he's overpriced personally. Deontay Johnson and A.J. Brown. Johnson is a target machine, man, but again, I've got that as one of the lower scoring games of the week. I'm playing a little bit of him just because of the volume, and they're going to maybe be behind here if Teddy plays, but don't love him. And then A.J. Brown, you could talk about that one a little bit. He's a sneaky play here.
Yeah, he's interesting. A.J. Brown obviously has all the talent in the world. He's had a rough start to the season, then went out with the injury, but I mean, he's a guy that really, when he's in the game, gets a lot of targets, and Julio's ruled out. They basically had to run the ball an absurd amount of times, could not move the ball through the air last week. I think they are a little bit more well-balanced here. Obviously, Henry's going to still be the main focus there. A.J. Brown could be seeing just 10 or 12 targets in this game. Is super talented, has a great matchup against Jacksonville. There's obviously some risk there. Coming up, the injury was questionable all week, and he's not priced super cheap, 6,500. But I mean, you're getting a top tier talent at wide receiver at 6,500. He's going to be pretty much the only wide receiver weapon on the team. So very interesting play. More of a tournament play for me, for sure. I think he could go off, but I could also see him busting. So cash plays, I probably won't be playing him too much. I'm absolutely going to have some of them in my tournaments.
Absolutely. We got Keenan Allen, Godwin, Lamb, Cooks kind of in this next range. Man, I don't trust any of them, honestly. They're all decent plays and have that potential, but if I'm putting lineups together where I kind of need that guaranteed floor, I mean, I'd probably say Allen has the highest of all of them. But, don't love the Charger game. Tampa's got too many weapons. Lamb's been kind of inconsistent since week one. Cooks is a target machine, but New England might just, take him out of the game.
Yeah, out of those guys, I don't love any of them, but I like CD Lamb the most, and I like him in tournaments, not in cash. But it's just one of those things. Obviously, we know the talent's there. Amari Cooper, as much as he's a super tough soldier, and I have him in a lot of leagues, he's clearly hurt, and he's clearly moving slower. Lamb is still the best option on an offense that we think is going to score a lot of points this week. Mm-hmm. So, yes, we're getting their run going, and it's clearly been the main focus. Tight ends are getting very involved, especially in the end zone. And CeeDee Lamb's had some off weeks. Even with that being said, it has the feel to me of the whole Robert Woods situation, which obviously got resolved this week of him finally getting the usage he deserved. That's the feeling I get with CeeDee Lamb and even Amari Cooper to a degree. You have such a good offense that's going to score so many points, and you are one of the most dangerous weapons on the team. Eventually, you're gonna get fed. He definitely has some risk considering how much they can spread the ball around. But I'm absolutely playing CeeDee Lamb at 6,200 in some of my lineups this week.
All right, let's. So you got Cooper, same situation that you just talked about. Claypool's coming back from injury, but I'm just off of that game in general. We've got Odell Beckham, not a great play with the Chargers. Now, getting down here, we got some interesting names here, and some guys you might not have been on in the past weeks, and I think you can get an opportunity here where the ownership projections are really low on these guys, but if you look at the stats, man, some of these guys are absolute smash spots here. So Like Devontae Smith, outside of the one bad game, has been just the alpha one in Philly.
Yep.
Carolina's got a decent defense, but this guy at $5,900, the fact that you're getting, a guy with 100+ yard, 2 touchdown potential at that price it's rare. So Devontae Smith's in play for me. Kenny Golladay with Shepard out is the wide receiver one for the Giants in a good game script here. He's interesting to me. Definitely only on GPP though. I don't trust him for cash.
Yep. Next two guys.
Yeah, go for it.
Next two guys we're looking at, great value, 5,600, 5,700, is Myers and Marvin Jones on Jacksonville. Similar guys from a target standpoint. That's really where they're valued. Both on, not great offensive teams, but have had great target shares. Obviously, Marvin Jones disappointed last week, but in general, is a guy who's gotten a lot of targets through the season so far. Sharks out for the season. I wouldn't read too much into last game. I still think Marvin Jones is the number one there. With Chark going out, he's going to get a lot of opportunities, especially with the Tennessee secondary that's just terrible. And Myers is a little more interesting because he's really done it under the radar. And we've just looked, and he's just gotten so many targets every game. Great matchup against Houston this week. Also, an offense that's slowly looking better and better passing the ball. Mac Jones is actually looking better every week. Myers is clearly the number one, has a great matchup, and he's almost guaranteed to get, 8 to 12 targets in this game. So he's an interesting play there at his price point.
Yeah, and with Myers, the guy's still hunting his first NFL touchdown. But when you see these guys that are like 16, 18, 14, that's what he's scoring every week, and he hasn't been in the end zone yet. It's only a matter of time. And I will say New England's had a very tough go to start the season as far as competition. Really good defenses. Sooner or later, you get to play this Houston defense, and you just got to assume, man, as the wide receiver one there, I know they're run heavy, they're very conservative, but dude, if you got a guy that's going to get me 10 to 12 targets, I just got to feel like, he's a smash spot at 5,600 as far as safety goes. So loading up on him in cash, I'm not sure he has the actual ceiling as some of those guys for GPP, but if you want a safe play, like Myers is definitely a great spot to be in.
Yeah. And then the last guy for me in this kind of tier is Antonio Brown at 5,200. I think he's an absolutely great play. I think he's the guy that probably benefits most from Gronk being out, and we've already gotten Gronk out again. He's going to get those shorter passes, those possession passes, those first down style passes. So very safe floor in a PPR. So I really like him. And then, they're going to score a lot of points on Miami. It's a game where they should crush. And I like him as much as any receiver in Tampa Bay this week because of kind of his role with Gronk out. He's still getting those deep looks. He should have caught a touchdown last week. Very, very safe floor and still the same seam as any of the receivers in Tampa Bay. So out of the three receivers in Tampa Bay, I like Antonio the best at 5,200. And I actually honestly think he's got the safest floor out of all of them because of his possession style in the PPR. Some of the other guys, like Evans, might have a higher ceiling. He probably is the more touchdown guy, a red zone guy. But I think Antonio's live for a touchdown here, and he will absolutely get 5 or 6 catches in this game.
Yeah, Brown's safe. And in 2 of the 4 games, he's been wide receiver 1 for them. And, yeah, he's consistent, man. And good game flow there. Yeah, I think Antonio Brown's underpriced. You're not going to see him at 5,200 for long, man. This guy's going to be a $6,000 receiver up there kind of with the other 2. Then you'll have to decide where the value is. But for now, if I'm getting, $1,500 savings off of like a Mike Evans, I'm taking that all day. Another one down here that, we'll scroll a little farther is T. Higgins at 5,000 is interesting to me. Every game that he's played in, he's been an absolute monster. He dominates red zone targets on that team, and he's missed 7 quarters of football already with the overtime. But, when that guy's in, I think he's getting like a 44% red zone share, which is ridiculous. And while he was out, obviously the tight end, had a great game, kind of playing his role in those areas. But yeah, I got Higgins coming back, and really just if that game is going to be a shootout, man, at 5,000, it's going to be hard to find a better value than him.
Yep, I agree with that. And now, let's go down. Now we're going to the really cheap guys where you can really do a lot with your lineup, and at least one of these guys needs to be played to afford the Derrick Henrys and the things like that in your lineup. So let's go all the way down. The first guy that I have that's really the guy I probably like the best in this position is Randall Cobb at 4,000. Obviously, he's coming off a huge game. I don't expect him to be in the end zone as much as he was last week. But in general, this is the guy who absolutely benefited most from the Valdez-Scantling injury. He's the number 2 receiver on Green Bay right now. The coach, LaFleur, said they want to make an effort to get Cobb the ball more. It's really going to unlock the whole offense. I agree, considering how kind of like much of a quick receiver he is for those little dump offs, for those little quick routes when Adams is getting double teamed. Really like him here. And again, I've already talked about this game. I am a believer in that this game will be a shootout. I believe he's going to get a very safe floor. He's going to get 4 or 5 catches. Hopefully, he could get in the end zone for you, but very safe floor at 4,000. I have no problem playing him at 4,000. I don't think he's going to be a bust here. Even if he has a relatively quiet game, I still think he gets you above 10 points, 10, 11, 12 points. So love Cobb at that 4,000 price.
Yeah, real quick, I want to kind of touch a little bit higher. I kind of skipped over this guy, but Chenault Jr. at 4,800. If you like that, Jacksonville offense against Tennessee secondary, I think he's a sneaky play now that he's in the 2 wide receiver sets with Shark out for the year. So just wanted to briefly mention him before I get into my $4,000 receiver, which will be Tony for the Giants. The rookie has undeniable speed, man. This guy can do it all as a receiver. He had a hard time getting into the offense because he plays the same role as Sterling Shepard. But with Shepard out again, and I mean, last week I know it was a prime matchup, but he had 6 catches for 78 yards on 9 targets, 1 rushing attempt for a yard. I mean, if he's going to get that Sterling Shepard kind of usage while that guy's out in this prime spot, I mean, I love him. I love this game. I think he's safe. He's got all the talent in the world. Anytime he touches the ball, I mean, it's Rondell Moore, a little less, but esque, where it's like, throw him the ball 2 yards down the field, and he could run 75. He's got that boom every time he touches it. So if he's seeing, I know that was an overtime game. I know it was Atlanta, but look, Dallas is going to do their best to take Golladay out of this thing and kind of focus on Barkley. I could see Tony absolutely getting that 8 to 10 targets again. 70, and if he gets a touchdown, I mean, he's a smash spot here for me. So Tony at the 4,000 mark, I do like Cobb. And then we both have one receiver at $3,000, and it's completely dependent on if he plays. But we are both on Curtis Samuel in Washington. He came back from injury short term last week, only played 37% of the snaps, but saw 4 targets on 19 routes. If this guy gets more into the mix, 50, 60% of the snaps, I mean, he's a legit receiver at $3,000.
Yeah. Curtis Samuel is extremely talented guy. We know how he was used in Carolina, kind of a do-it-all running back, receiver, everything. PPR machine. I also think, just for anybody who's thinking at the top here, if Curtis Samuel plays, absolutely hurts McLaren's floor because he is going to be a guy that gets 5 or 6 catches a game. At 3,000, you can pretty much do whatever you want with your lineup if you can get a receiver you're comfortable with here. So, yeah, if he plays and is healthy and ready to go, I really like this. Obviously, it's a tougher game with New Orleans, not a great game. But honestly, Heineke's looked pretty good. Heineke looked much better than I thought he'd look. He's been okay throwing the ball. At 3,000 to make value, the guy only needs to get 12 points for you, and he would have a great value there. So I think he's absolutely has the talent to do that. Monitor his health here, make sure he's good to go. but he's a sneaky play. And I think if he's good to go, I think I have to play him in some lineups at 3,000.
Yeah, I agree. All right, let's move on to tight end. And God, they're beat up at the top.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you want to pay up for Waller, go ahead. Can't ever go wrong with the guy that's getting 10 targets at tight end, but I won't be paying up for him in this matchup with Chicago. Also, just can't afford him with some of the other big dogs I want to get at receiver and running back. So, I mean, I'm going to stay away from all the guys at the top, really. I'm going to be fading that whole tier. Yeah. And then down to about, I think Schultz is kind of the first tight end I've looked at actually playing this week.
Yeah. Schultz at 4,400 looks for real. He's getting the red zone targets. He's kind of picking up from where he left off last season when Dak was healthy. Looks like a mainstay in this offense. I like Schultz a lot at 4,400. Only thing I'll say is I think like he's already being priced correctly. He's not being priced as kind of this sleeper anymore. So no problem paying for 4,400 for him. There are some cheaper guys that I got to take a hard look at just because they're still being undervalued.
Yeah, and then we got two at 3,400, and I'm kind of just back and forth, kind of flip-flopping every lineup with these two guys, and we got Ertz and Max Williams. Personally, I'm on the Max Williams side a little more. I think that guy's just a monster in the middle of the field for a good Arizona offense. And then I know you like Ertz a little more because that guy's definitely getting rolling in the passing game now.
Yeah, I like Ertz a lot, and obviously we know Ertz's talent, and everyone it seems like everybody kind of overplayed he's getting traded, he's done, Godaire's the number one. They're clearly running two tight end sets quite a bit. They're also, when it's an actual passing down, Ertz is in just as much as Godaire is. Ertz is probably the better runner. He has way more potential for yardage after the catch, and he's getting red zone targets. What else is there that you could ask for? Not a great matchup with Carolina, but even still, if they're getting beat up by Carolina at all, Ertz was coming in more and more when they were down and needed to pass. So I'm really interested to see how they use Ertz here moving forward. A sleeper to keep an eye on, and we know he has the talent at tight end.
Yeah, definitely. Sliding down, I mean, the next guy I'm kind of looking at is 2,900. We got Dan Arnold, who should be filling that James O'Shaughnessy role there for Jacksonville since they traded for him. He only got 1 day of practice before that Thursday night game, and he got 2 targets. Tennessee secondary is weak. I think they're definitely going to work this guy into a full-time role this week. And I expect him to see kind of that 8 target range right there in the middle of the field for a team that's going to be forced to throw the ball. Dan Arnold's a sneaky play there at 2,900.
Yep. And then the last guy we were looking at, again, really opens up your entire lineup. Ricky Seals-Jones is at $2,500 for Washington.
Yeah.
Logan Thomas he's on IR. It's going to be out for at least 3 weeks here. We've seen how Heineke's been using his tight ends. He also, when he got into the game, once Thomas went out, I think he played like 95 or 96% of the snaps at tight end. So he was actually in every play, and he still got 4 targets in that game. So we've seen Ricky Seals-Jones in the past. He's an athletic guy, runs good routes. Absolutely carries some risk here that we don't know how he's going to be used. We don't know what the offense is going to look like. Is Curtis Samuel going to be back and just take all those targets? Very possible, but worth a flyer at 2,500 for a talented guy on a team that's always kind of used their tight ends, and a rookie quarterback who definitely uses tight end as a safety valve when things are going rough for him. So interesting play there.
Yeah, so that kind of wraps up the tight ends, and we kept it kind of short for you guys because there's just not that many plays that we're looking at this week. Really hyper focusing on those couple guys. So let's move into defenses, and unlike last week where we had 4 guaranteed floor spots for you, this week's real interesting with the defenses where you could pay up to the top. You got some decent spots up there, but for me, I think I've got every one of my lineups is either on Arizona at 2,900 against Trey Lance, where let's see what he's got kind of thing with this rookie quarterback. Or there's no reason to rewrite the book, man. The Dallas defense causes turnovers. And at $2,800 for a team that's going to get some sacks, put some pressure on Daniel Jones, and hopefully, get him to turn the ball over. I got about 80% Dallas right now, and I just don't see that defense really hurting me.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I'm definitely playing some Cowboys. They're priced nicely down there at 2,800. I'm playing them. I will say I'm going a little more conservative this week. Hard to fit in, but I'm absolutely paying up for the Buccaneers and the Patriots. Um, last week I did play a lot of Dallas, but I also played a lot of the Bills, and obviously my Bills lineups really came through for me. Kind of have a similar feeling this week. Bucks and Patriots are in such good spots here. I think they can almost make value even at their 4,700, 4,900 price points. I'm playing quite a bit at the top there with those two. I do like Dallas that I'm playing quite a bit of. Another interesting one, I'm not playing that much, but just, we've been talking so much about the game script in this game. I don't dislike either the Browns or the Chargers at 2,700 each there. Chargers are probably a little more likely to get a turnover with Baker being a little banged up. I do like that. Browns are more likely to rack up some sacks and just keep a low-scoring game in general. Both are interesting plays. They're not the most turnover-friendly defenses, and it could be a very slow game for running the ball a lot. But low-scoring game in general, I do think the Browns can get sacked. I don't hate the Browns at 2,700.
Yeah, and then a couple little honorary mentions here. Look, if Teddy Bridgewater doesn't get cleared to play, I love the Pittsburgh D at 3,300. Drew Lock is just terrible. That Pittsburgh D, for as much as the offense puts him in terrible spots all game long, is legit still with TJ Watt healthy. So if Drew Lock is kind of running that ship there, I'll take Pittsburgh's D all day against him. And then just to kind of save value here, if you just want to take the cheapest defense on the slate, $2,100 Jacksonville. Tennessee's offense has struggled at times. They turn the ball over. They're not this dynamic offense. So if you just want to save the money and kind of throw in the kicker there at 2,100, you got no problem playing Jacksonville if you want to do some other things with your lineup.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Look, if you kind of like the information you're getting, like and subscribe, and then follow us on Twitter as we get closer on Sunday. We'll have some last-minute changes and kind of go get that injury news 90 minutes before kickoff and kind of put that into play for you guys.